pour commencer et répondre, je donne la parole maintenant à Son Excellence Madame Molewa, le ministre de l'Environnement de l'Afrique du Sud. Cher ami, vous avez la parole, je crois, de votre place.
Thank you very much, Honorable President of this session. Let me, at the outset, really express our appreciation to the contributors, especially the presidents in the previous session. It was really a very, very encouraging session, which we believe that will actually drive us into a very high momentum. We recognize and deeply appreciate the commitment shown by the government of Peru as COP20 presidency to support much-needed acceleration of climate action. We also appreciate your efforts in opening a space for all actors to play our distinct role in combating climate change. Now, the science is clear. Human-induced global climate change is indeed real. It is happening now, and its impact on economies as well as on society and ecosystems are much more severe than previously understood. The IPCC fifth report clearly indicates the linkage between climate change mitigation ambition and the extent of adaptation that's required. The less mitigation is achieved, the more adaptation will be required. Adaptation, therefore, is a global challenge and indeed global responsibility, we believe. Furthermore, the science is clear that even at the current level of temperature increases of 0.8 degrees Celsius, many vulnerable communities are experiencing, and countries are also experiencing, severe impacts that require immediate investment in adaptation. The science is also clear that there is finite limit to the amount of adaptation possible. It is an obvious case, Chair, and the conclusion that the international community must collectively achieve both ambitious reduction of greenhouse gas emissions and the implementation of effective adaptation measures to enable and support the transition to a low carbon and resilient world. As a responsible global citizen, South Africa is implementing a number of policies and measures that are consistent with our objective of sustainable development that are also leading to considerable reduction of our emissions. We have such policies across all sectors, including in the energy efficiency, in the renewable energy, in transport, in carbon capture and storage, in waste management and land management. And this work can actually be achieved more if we actually work through partnerships with business, industry, and civil society. We are also taking extensive action to build our resilience to the impacts of climate change by assessing the likely impacts under future climate conditions on water security, on food security, health, human settlements, and infrastructure and ecosystems. Yet, despite the current and future mitigation commitments, action and pledges that are being undertaken, there will, we know, be a very serious gap between the level of mitigation ambition for the pre-2020 period and the level of science that required by science. The gap in mitigation ambition means that in the African continent, Chair, we must prepare ourselves for a 4-degree or 5-degree world. This will have a set of severe associated impact on development gains and hasten the urgency to build resilience as well as capacity for adaptation and response to the real potential of loss and damage, which I must add is already happening in many of our countries. Honourable Co-Chairs, the question therefore remains, what more should be done globally and should be done by the global community in the pre-2020 period, which will move us to closing the ambition gap. The Convention spells out a commitment by all parties to combat climate change. We are encouraged by the leadership shown by some countries, some country parties, and South Africa welcomed the recent pledges that were made for initial capitalization of Green Climate Fund. We continue to make a call for further scaling up of GCF such that it is commensurate with achieving the global convention. However, to achieve the required scale of emission reduction and the associated need of building climate resilience, it is clear to us all that there is an urgent need to scale up actions beyond the business-as-usual manner. It is our view, therefore, Excellencies, that there exist numerous opportunities for developed country parties to further entrench themselves as leaders of climate action. We must recognize the transformative actions that are being undertaken by developing countries through their own means and also through support by different partners. In South Africa, we have learned that scaling up climate change actions requires, firstly, political will, secondly, involvement in the ownership of climate actions by a broad set of role players, including private sector, academia, as well as civil society. We are working very well with civil society, and I think we're very ready to showcase the work that we do at this point in time at that level. We also need to strengthen institutional arrangements that function in a world of increasing complexity, cutting across conventional sectoral silos and crossing sovereign boundaries, and a new generation of financial instruments that can also deal with risk associated with economic and social transformation and transition and transformation, as well as predictable and scaled-up financial support to leverage other sources of finance. And we also need to ensure that we look at evolving the set of skills that are needed to support the green sectors and a science and technology platform to support the transition, and lastly, the effective information and knowledge management for decision-making in the world. We think that this is actually a set of things that are required for us to be successful. Now, as I conclude, I want to say that towards the Paris Agreement, there are certain things that must happen. The multilateral rules-based system that must be done in a manner that reflects the interdependence between the levels of mitigation ambition achieved and the requirement to adapt to climate impacts, and also ensuring that the collective level of ambition of mitigation and adaptation contributions can be clearly understood to enable the identification of any gap between commitments and what science is needed, its needs, and also enabling regular periodic review of progress towards the achievement of contributions both individually and collectively as the basis to inform country process to formulate future commitments. And given the differences in vulnerabilities, capabilities, and national circumstances between countries, effectively enable and support countries' implementation through effective, adequate, and predictable finance, technology, and capacity building. Honourable Chair, the pre-2020 climate action will provide a platform upon which the commitment that will be enshrined in Paris Agreement will be built. Therefore, it is critical and very crucial a period, and the global community will do well for the sake of our future generations to move towards ambitious climate actions. And again, I must thank you. As the incoming president, we are ready to work with you as South Africa. Minister was saying yesterday that maybe we need to have a forum of the axis so that we support you effectively. We look forward to friends and indeed to working with all parties here present in order to scale up all our actions. Thank you very much.
Merci beaucoup, chers collègues. Alors, j'ai pris connaissance du programme et je constate, nous allons le faire ensemble, qu'il y a une vingtaine d'orateurs qui sont inscrits. Plus, et ce sera extrêmement intéressant de les écouter, une série d'orateurs, Madame Robinson, vice-président Al Gore, Rachel Kite et Christiana Figueres, qui s'exprimeront à la fin. Je pense qu'il faudrait que nous terminions notre session avant la tombée de la nuit. Donc, conformément à ce qui m'est recommandé, les prises de parole seront uniquement de 3 minutes. Simplement, nous avons un problème, si je comprends bien, c'est qu'il n'y a pas ces petites machines agréables qui sonnent lorsque on dépasse les 3 minutes. Donc, ça va être moi la petite machine. Je suggère aussi, j'espère que nos amis péruviens ne m'en voudront pas, que vous éliminiez au début de votre propos les remerciements à tous ceux qui nous ont accueillis. Je pense que nous avons tous constaté que vraiment les Péruviens ont fait un accueil absolument magnifique. Mais on va leur dire collectivement, ça réduira un petit peu le temps. Et donc, pas au-dessus de 3 minutes si vous le voulez bien.